Okay, boys, welcome back. As we speak, it is a Saturday afternoon. I understand that the NFL teams have reported back for training camp, so the seasons are changing. I think they're also, it's still the dog days, but just go with the metaphor, boys. The seasons are changing in politics, too. We're down to the last act of sort of legislating and lawmaking before we transition over to the election crew. So closing out what has been a great arc this spring and summer is Zubby Badger here to revisit. You know what I'm going to say. Reconciliation, Joe Manchin, Chuck Schumer, whatever they're up to lately, Kyrsten Sinema, whatever she's doing out with her saguaro cactuses in the desert. We need to talk about gay marriage, which seems to be back, but maybe is not back. And also NATO expansion, Sweden, Finland, making Ace of Base great again, is going to maybe be hitting the Senate floor soon. So we're going to close out lawmaking. And Zubby, I don't know, like, are you just gonna have to get woke to elections? Because we really enjoyed having you on the show so much. But it's about to be like the Sharko Rubio Rainbow Jeremy squads. Time to be celebrities again in political gambling. How does it feel?
Hey, if this is the one I'm going out on, hopefully we do as well as the last one. But yeah, I can give you some elections takes if you need them down the line, no problem.
Okay. And to be clear, I guess if we want to be like capital J journalists here, we need to disclose that we have like personal interests at stake over the end game for what are we calling it? Reconciliation, Inflation Reduction Act. What's it called now?
The Inflation Reduction Act.
That is one for the ages, by the way. That's like right up there with like Operation Iraqi Freedom or something like so idiotic. We have 5 Arby's sandwiches bet on this bill. I think I took the outcome of it not passing. It looks like I might be literally eating some crow here. But are you feeling good about that, or are you training a little bit for some Arby's?
I am doing whatever the opposite of training a bit for some Arby's. That's what I'm doing. I am extremely confident I'm going to win. I look forward to awkwardly sitting there while you eat 5 Arby's sandwiches. Maybe I'll have one with you. We'll see how I'm feeling that day, but I'm not going to lose. You're done. I'm done.
The done chain is off of Chuck Schumer's neck and onto mine here. Okay, well then why don't we get into it? So the big news this week is there's, quote, a deal on reconciliation. I don't know what the hell that even means anymore. The point is that Chuck Schumer and Joe Manchin sort of secretly found a way to spend another $800 billion of money through this vessel called the Inflation Reduction Act, which, again, is an amazing name. Operation Iraqi Freedom, Operation Just Cause. The government just does it right sometimes. Anyway, but the person who was cut out of this agreement was the queen bee of Senate moderates and Sphinx-like politicians, which is Arizona Senator Kyrsten Sinema. And I think largely because of that, and also possibly because of pumping we've done on this podcast, the gambling markets only have this as like a 65 to 70% favorite to pass. So markets believing that there will be a reconciliation bill a la Joe Manchin that passes, but not really feeling great about it. So how about I quote Axios and then I let you talk? Does that sound okay?
Sounds good.
Okay, so as of Saturday morning, Axios said, quote, Chuck Schumer, the Democratic leader, made a calculated decision to negotiate a package with Manchin in secrecy. He assumed that all of his members, including Sinema, would fall into line and support the deal. This is, of course, because Kyrsten Sinema did not support this deal in the past, and no one's really checked in with her lately. So I guess let me ask, is that like a boys club move from Chuck Schumer? Does he think that Kyrsten Sinema is kind of like a beta or a soy boy, or like, what? Are we judging his character here?
I don't think it's a boys club move. I think everything in this bill, almost everything, we can talk about what's not, but everything in this, most of what's in this bill sort of lines up with stuff that Sinema has publicly agreed to previously. So I think Schumer just sort of took that on her behalf, assumed she still agreed with it, and just viewed Manchin as the big obstacle and is essentially daring Sinema to vote it down, negotiate minor cuts, etc.
Okay, so maybe let's think bigger here. So, like, in the universe of things that could totally ruin this bill that has been ruined many times over for sort of progressive Dems, Kyrsten Sinema is not the only thing, and we can talk about what her gripes are too. But I have a little notepad of other things that could mess this up. So why don't you feel free to add to them? So the Senate parliamentarian could mess it up because of the weird procedure rules. COVID, if these members, they keep getting it. Also death could mess this up if someone got hit by a train or something.
Absolutely.
Am I missing anything?
Those are the House could mess it up too. That would be one.
Oh, how would they do that?
This is unlikely in my opinion, but if there are some House moderates, the speculation is that there are people representing wealthy parts of New York and New Jersey who want the state and local tax deduction in this bill. In theory, if they wanted to push the red button and kill it, they could. That would be really betting against Pelosi, and that's like one of the. It's not even like a never bet against Pelosi thing, but like big agenda on the line, bring it up to the House. This is pass or don't pass. I would not bet against her here, but that should be on the list.
That was amazing. Like a year ago, you could get like a 60%, almost even money bet that they wouldn't do that tax cut for rich people in this bill. That was one of the better lines ever. Okay. So we've got Kyrsten Sinema ruining it, COVID ruining it, the Senate parliamentarian, death and taxes. Death and taxes always loom large in politics. So I guess like where is Sinema and her, is she on the team, not on the team? Where does she kind of rank in your order of being worried about this?
Yeah, so for the predicted market, it's that the bill has to pass before the August recess, basically. Now, that can change on when that happens. But the number one issue for the August recess would be COVID. If a bunch of Dems get COVID, there's nothing they could do about it. And they might, if that happens, like end of next week or something, or maybe like 2 weeks in a row or something, then like the predicted market's gonna resolve no, regardless whether this thing passes. That's the biggest risk. As far as killing the bill, I would say death would be a guaranteed kill shot. I don't want to get dark. You have Senator Leahy, who had 2 hip surgeries. He's allegedly coming back, but for old dudes with hip problems, that's an issue. And then I would put Sinema and the parliamentarian killing the entire bill very low, taking out some parts of it reasonably high, but killing the entire bill. The parliamentarian won't do that. And Sinema, I would put that at like 1% that she has her John McCain thumbs down moment.
So, why is that, though? Because you and other traders seem to think that you know her pretty well, and I don't really get the impression that anyone knows her very well.
Yeah, no, I don't know her at all. It's just like she used to be a member of the Green Party. It's a climate bill. She specifically endorsed this minimum corporate tax that basically says Amazon has to pay 15% in tax rates. The pharma stuff, maybe, but that's like already cut down like to satisfy like the representatives and her who are in the pocket of big pharma. And then you get like the thing people keep focusing on is there's this thing called the carried interest loophole, which is basically just a tax giveaway to rich people. It lets them get better rates on their certain amounts of profits or something. That could come out, and she could take that out, but that's not killing the bill. So for all our traders and listeners, I would say just like really be careful what you're listening to. Like the Politico, like going nuts over the carried interest loophole being in jeopardy, like that is by no means going to kill the bill. Do not panic buy, do not panic sell if you see some news story like that coming out, because that is a very small part of it. I almost think it's in there specifically so she can put her own spin on it and take it out. I think people like Chuck Schumer like to campaign against that specific thing, but when they go to the Hamptons with their donor meetings, they don't actually want that thing taken.
Right. So, okay. So there's like one big question, right? And the one big question is, this deal was announced Wednesday. Okay. So it's Saturday. Joe Manchin is literally booked on every single Sunday morning show. Literally every single one. So he's feeling great about himself. No one's heard anything from Kyrsten Sinema. So why hasn't she said anything?
Her office claims she's reading it, which I doubt, and that she's waiting for the parliamentarian to rule, which could be the case. If that's the case, she might be looking at the pharma stuff to take out, because that was. But when they were
what's at issue there? It's like how many drugs are covered by price controls or something like that, or
it's whether allowing Medicare to negotiate prices of drugs is considered like budgetary, and it's just like the parliamentarian's decision. Right. And it seems totally arbitrary. Like she didn't allow a bunch of things when they were negotiating earlier, but she did allow like Republicans to oil drill in Alaska. So I don't know the criteria. I don't understand it. I think she just has to make a ruling.
Right. It's hard for me to imagine that that they're going to royally fuck this up, and the parliamentary is going to come back and say like, actually, 9 of the 12 eggs in this crate need to be thrown out. So, but again, like, who really knows? I just don't get why Kyrsten Sinema can't say she's for it or against it.
Yeah, I don't know.
You said 1% chance that she's against it, but yet she's being this cagey about, how she wants to proceed. Like, isn't that like at least like a 2 or a 5 or a 10%?
Sure, maybe. I'm just saying 1% that she just nukes the bill. Nothing's passing. Nothing's happening. I would be very surprised by that, because, like I said, a lot of this stuff has sort of been run by her a year ago. Now, maybe she would say, in your 10% scenario, she would say, we just got the news, we're in a recession, we can't make Amazon pay 15% in corporate taxes or whatever. Maybe. That's possible. My guess is she isn't saying anything because she is probably negotiating with Schumer, who also hasn't said anything about her, to put her own little spin on it in exchange for not like openly allowing poison pill votes during the vote-a-rama. That is my personal guess, and my guess is she will get.
So you're introducing something that's important to understand, which is, I guess the idea here is because of the weird, like very Harry Potter, Dumbledore-y procedural rules for this type of bill, the Republicans get to offer like basically anything they want or something. I don't really know. But I'm just imagining votes on like, none of this money can be used to like teach children under 5 that gender's made up and stuff like that. All these riders on the bill.
Yeah. It becomes ridiculous. It's like budget neutral votes on like not teaching critical race theory or like not giving prescription, like you'll see like making sure like illegal immigrants don't get prescription drug discounts on Medicare or something like that. Like that's it. You'll see like 10 versions of that if they want to. It could be 400. Like if theoretically, if they wanted to, they could do 1 million amendment votes like that. It probably will just be like couple hundred, or not a couple hundred, probably like 50, I would guess.
Yeah. Max.
It'll probably take all night. Like if you're gonna watch this, it's probably starting at like 7 p.m. one random night and probably ending at 8 a.m. That's kind of what you're looking at.
And then the upshot is the next day the campaign adds it like Raphael Warnock voted 17 times to raise your taxes during a recession and 15 times to teach critical race theory in your schools. All because of this vote-a-rama.
Yeah, exactly. That's what they're going for. So, in theory, if one Democrat votes for any of those amendments, then they get put into the bill. Now, there is something called a wraparound amendment that Schumer can introduce that says all these amendments that we just passed, we're now eliminating all of them at the very end, which is just this is so stupid, and anybody from the outside, organized, making any sense of this would be like, what the hell are you talking about? But he can do that. He can eliminate all the changes.
I mean, that's what's fun about Congress is all the idiocy. It's like you gotta like love it all. You gotta love it unconditionally.
Yeah, the Dems would all have to agree to that, too. Manchin has said he will never do that again. He told Brett Baer that at one point. So, we'll see. It's also now his baby. Like, he's stumping for it. So, normally you want your own thing to pass as much in as good a shape as you can get it. So, we'll see with that.
I mean, I guess I'll ask the same question, like the 10,000th different way, which is, a lot of what you've been saying is that you can be confident in Kyrsten Sinema supplying votes for this bill because she said she would do so in the past. But really the whole reason why we're here is that, Joe Manchin has gone back and then forth and then back and then forth again on what he said he's willing to do in the past. Like inconsistency is what has created this opportunity. So is it that there's something fundamentally different about Kyrsten Sinema and Joe Manchin, or why not expect more inconsistency?
Yeah, I guess it's stupid. Like, she didn't go out there and kill the bill the first time. She was more negotiating to sort of get to parameters that she wanted. The reporting was she was okay with most of that stuff. It was just like the reporting was she didn't want to raise taxes on individual tax rates. This doesn't do that. She didn't want the carried interest thing, so that is something that maybe is thrown in to get her to take it out almost by herself. And she didn't want something where she was very pro-pharma, and I think the compromise they made was something that she at one point agreed to and was willing to let them do on a very small basis before the big Manchin Schumer deal. So you just see all the stuff she's agreed to. She didn't come out and kill it previously. We never heard her say no. We heard her say yes to a few things. It's just, is she like, I think if she kills this, she's like switching parties the next, after the cycle. Like, that's it, and it's possible, but I think
the pharma stuff is, now that regrettably, we announced on our last podcast that I live in DC, which is just, Jesus God, it's like
East Coast, baby.
It's like if a city had like a 6-pack of Amstel Light for a personality. But the farmer bros around DC think that that's their lifeline, is that she's got their back. But it wouldn't be the first time that the farmer bros were wrong about something.
Yeah, this isn't going to do anything to them. Like, they're complaining.
They're still going to be rich.
Yeah, they're still going to be rich. They're complaining that it'll stop innovation. There's many analyses that say it won't. It's a very minor thing. It's mostly just to say some nice things to old people before the election. That's mainly what they're doing, saying like, we capture Medicare expenses at X dollars or something.
Right.
I doubt regular people are going to see much benefit, but it's a good tagline and good for people on Medicare, I would say.
Right. Like, your grandchildren's brains have been turned to mush by TikTok, but we did make sure that, your catheter costs $3 less or something. Interesting approach to legislation. Okay, well, so 5 Arby's sandwiches is the bet. To be clear, the markets right now are at 65 cents. Yes, I have. You got to be flexible in this business, boys. I am on yes at 67 cents right now. I don't really want to hold that until the end, but maybe that's why I'm a beta cuck soy boy. Like, this has been a nice little volatile market to swing trade a little bit, but I do think that the advantage here is with yes. I'm not obviously as confident as you are, and I'm going to learn to love Arby's in the meantime because I think I sense that you're right, Zebby. That's what I sense.
Yeah, I would just say official advice, the predicted market, you're going to have to be following the news pretty closely on COVID, absences, anything like that. If you see something early next week, like Monday, they can probably still avoid it. If you see something late in the week, then you should start getting nervous for the predicted market. Any market,
because
the Senate can't just make up new time. The predicted market resolves on September 2nd.
right? And there would be a time where they would just be like, all right, we'll just push this to after the recess. Any market where it's will reconciliation pass at all, I think that's something that I would recommend buying into, and particularly the Kalshi market, which people don't appear to understand, which is will Build Back Better pass. It's a little confusing because this isn't called Build Back Better anymore, but the market specifically references the House resolution number that is literally this bill. And that's been swinging back and forth a little bit. If you can get a deal in the 60s, under 60, anything like that, I'm heavily exposed there, and I recommend anybody, if they have the cash free, to do the same.
That is magical.